The vote was unanimous. 400 species, 400 delegations, every single one voted to seal the chamber. No observers, no media, no records. For the first time in galactic history, the Assembly locked its own doors, not to protect the accused, to protect themselves, because what humanity was about to show them would rewrite 10,000 years of galactic law, and everyone in that room knew it. The human delegation was small, 12 people, no soldiers, no warships in the chamber, just 12 humans in simple gray uniforms standing at the center of the largest political body in the galaxy. The woman at the front was Director Amara Okoro, 107 years old, born the day the barrier rose. She had never seen Earth's sky until 3 weeks ago. She carried no weapons, just a data drive containing the truth. Ambassador Thyren watched from the Vaelori section as she connected it to the Assembly's central display. His hands gripped the armrests of his seat. He already knew what was coming. He'd seen the files, and he knew that in the next hour the galaxy would tear itself apart. The hologram activated. It showed Earth 100 years ago, the bioweapon descending through the atmosphere. Every delegate had already seen this footage. Humanity had broadcast it across the galaxy. But this time, the image zoomed out. It showed the ship that had fired it, a Krynn assault frigate, registry number clearly visible. The Krynn delegation erupted. Their ambassador shot to his feet. "This is fabrication. We would never—" "Sit down." Director Okoro's voice cut through the chamber like a blade. The Krynn ambassador froze. "You will sit down," she repeated. "You will be silent, and you will watch." The hologram shifted. Communication logs, encrypted transmissions between Krynn Military Command and another party. The encryption was military grade. Humanity broke it in 6 years. The transmissions were damning. Not just the Krynn. The Vaelori collective had provided intelligence on human population centers. The Thessari Union had supplied the biological template for the weapon. The Draelith Dominion had run interference to delay any rescue response. And 17 other species had voted in a secret session held outside official Assembly records to authorize the strike. 21 species conspiring to commit genocide. The reason was simple: fear. Humanity had only been in space for 40 years, but in that time they'd colonized 4 worlds the galaxy said were uninhabitable. They'd adapted to environments that killed other species. They'd bred faster, worked harder, and refused to accept limits. Projections showed that in 300 years, humanity would outnumber the Vaelori. In 500, they'd outnumber the Draelith. In 1,000 years, they would be the largest single species in the galaxy. So 21 species decided to solve the problem early. The chamber was silent. Not the silence of shock, the silence of a knife entering flesh. The silence before the scream. Director Okoro let it hang. Then she continued. "You tried to kill us because we were too successful, too adaptable, too dangerous to your control." Her voice was steady, clinical. "So you fired a weapon banned by every treaty in galactic law. You fired it at a planet with 8 billion civilians, children, families, people who had never wronged you." She took one step forward. "And when it failed, when we survived, you declared us extinct. You divided our worlds like we were already dead. You erased us from your star charts, from your history." Another step. "You forgot us." One more. "We remembered
everything. The Krynn ambassador found his voice. Even if this is true, and I do not concede that it is, this happened a century ago. The individuals responsible are long dead. You cannot hold current governments accountable for. We can.
The voice came from the Vaelori section. Ambassador Thyren stood. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. "The laws are clear," he said quietly. "Genocide has no statute of limitations. Conspiracy to commit extinction-level attacks cannot be pardoned by time." He looked directly at the Krynn ambassador. "She can, and she should." He turned to Director Okoro. "I vote to convene an emergency tribunal. Full investigation, full transparency. Let the evidence stand or fall under scrutiny." "Seconded," came a voice from the Hallux Concordat. "Thirded," from the Thessari coalition. Within 2 minutes, 60 species had called for the tribunal. The conspiracy was crumbling. But Director Okoro raised one hand. The chamber fell silent again. "We did not come here for a tribunal." Confusion rippled through the delegates. "We came to show you the truth, to make you see what you did, what you tried to do." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of species who had watched her world burn. A tribunal would take years, decades, and in the end you would argue jurisdiction, precedent, technicalities. You would bury this in legal frameworks designed to protect the powerful. She shook her head. "We're not interested in your laws." The temperature in the room dropped. "Then what do you want?" someone asked. Director Okoro smiled. It was not a warm smile. "We want you to understand what you created." The hologram changed. It showed the Sol system, present day, Earth, Mars, the megastructures around Jupiter and Saturn, orbital rings, shipyards, battle stations, terraforming operations on Venus already in progress. The population count updated in real time, 97.3 billion. You tried to kill 8 billion humans. You failed. We went underground. We survived. And in the darkness, we didn't just rebuild. The image zoomed out, showed the fleets, thousands of warships in perfect formations around every planet. We evolved. The display shifted, showed weapons tests, humanity firing something that bent space itself, creating a sphere of distorted gravity that crushed a test asteroid into a singularity. We innovated. Another shift showed human soldiers in powered armor moving faster than the Assembly's best holoprojectors. We became what you feared we would be. Final shift. A simulation, a tactical projection. It showed a human fleet engaging the entire Dralith Dominion. The battle lasted 4 hours in the simulation. Humanity won, with 30% casualties. "You created an enemy," Director Okoro said, "the most dangerous kind, one you taught to fear extinction, one you gave 100 years to prepare, one that knows exactly who you are and what you're capable of." She paused. "We have the strength to burn every system that conspired against us. We have the technology, the ships, the will." The conspirator species sat frozen. "But we won't." The words hung in the air like a bell that had rung wrong. "You won't?" The Thessari delegate sounded almost offended. "No." Director Okoro turned to face the full assembly. "Because that would make us you. You tried to exterminate us because you were afraid, because we didn't fit your projections, because we grew too fast, adapted too well, wanted too much. Her voice rose, not in anger, but in something deeper, sorrow, disappointment. We could do the same to you, right now. We have the guns aimed. We have the coordinates locked. We could rain fire on every world that voted to kill us. She shook her head slowly. But we've spent 100 years underground, remembering what it means to be human, and we are not you. She gestured to the hologram. It shifted one final time. It showed a document, a treaty, the Accord of Reciprocal Sovereignty. We're offering you terms, Director Okoro said, simple ones. The treaty's text scrolled across the display. Every species would retain sovereignty over their own territory. No reparations, no land seizures, no war.
In exchange, humanity would be granted full voting rights in the Assembly, equal representation, equal voice, and the 21 conspirator species would issue public admissions of guilt, not for punishment, for the record. So the galaxy would never forget what fear made them do. "This is it?" the Dralith ambassador asked. "No executions? No territorial concessions? No fleet reductions? This is it." Why? Director Okoro looked at him for a long moment. Because 100 years ago, someone tried to teach us that the galaxy runs on fear, that survival means crushing threats before they become problems, that the strong take what they want and call it law. She smiled, a real smile this time. They were wrong. We learned something else down there in the dark. We learned that survival means more than just living. It means remembering who you are when everything is trying to kill you. It means staying human when the world gives you every reason not to be. Her voice softened. You tried to make us monsters. We chose to stay people. The silence that followed was different, reverent, ashamed, awed. One by one, the delegates voted. The accord passed unanimously. Even the 21 conspirators voted yes. What choice did they have? Humanity had offered peace when they could have demanded annihilation. Refusing would have been suicide. Accepting was humiliation. They chose life. Within an hour, the announcements went out. Public admissions of guilt, recorded, archived, sent to every station, every world, every colony in the galaxy. The truth could not be buried again. And at the center of it all, humanity stood not as conquerors, but as the conscience the galaxy had forgotten it needed. The human delegation left the assembly chamber 3 hours later. As they walked through the corridors toward their transport, something happened that no one expected. The other delegation stood, not in defiance, in respect. 400 species, thousands of diplomats, aides, military officers, analysts. They rose from their seats and watched in silence as 12 humans walked past. Some of them had tried to kill humanity. Some had voted to erase them. Some had done nothing while it happened. And humanity had forgiven them all. Not because they deserved it, but because humans chose mercy over vengeance. Director Okoro walked that corridor with her head high, a century of darkness behind her, a galaxy of light ahead. And when she reached her ship, when the door sealed behind her and her people, she finally let herself cry. Not from pain, from relief. They had made it. They had survived. They had come back. And they had stayed human. 3 months later, Earth's sky opened for the first time in 100 years.
The atmospheric shields came down in sections, carefully, gradually, letting sunlight reach the surface in controlled phases. The first generation born underground stood on the surface and looked up. Some of them cried, some laughed, some just stood in silence, feeling wind they'd only read about. And overhead, the ships that had reclaimed their worlds hung in perfect formation, guardians of a species that had learned the hardest lesson of all. The galaxy doesn't owe you survival. You take it. Not with cruelty, not with conquest, with resilience, with ingenuity, with the stubborn, unbreakable refusal to let the universe decide what you're worth. Humanity had gone into the dark with nothing but themselves. They came back with everything. The galaxy learned 3 things that day. First, fear is the worst possible reason to start a war. Second, underestimating humanity is a mistake you only make once. Third, the most dangerous species in the galaxy isn't the strongest, or the fastest, or the most advanced. It's the one that refuses to become the monster you tried to make it. The one that goes into hell and comes back still believing in mercy. The one that survives extinction and chooses forgiveness. Humanity didn't conquer the galaxy. They reminded it what civilization was supposed to mean. And the stars have never been the same. Humanity actual, not a myth, not a legend, the real thing.